Hello everyone, and thank you for joining this virtual presentation of top grade selections for the upcoming season. My name is Spencer Miller, and today I'll be introducing you to exciting new titles from Canadian publishers for high school students. Our first nonfiction title is Growing Up Trans in Our Own Words from Orca Book Publishers. It is edited by Dr. Lindsay Harriott and Kate Fry. Growing Up Trans shares stories, essays, art, poetry, creative writing, all from trans youth age 11 to 18. In their own words, these teens get to share their experiences with childhood, family, daily life, school, their bodies, and mental health. The poetry in this book is particularly impactful, and I would recommend teachers teach some of these poems in their classroom. Alongside the writing from young trans folk, in this book are also answers and insight from experts in transgender studies. They give advice for how we can be more inclusive in our classrooms, how we can be more inclusive in our friend groups and in our families. At the end of each chapter, there is a What Can I Read Next section that offers book recommendations for readers of all ages who are interested in learning more about trans identities. This book is awesome because it really combines the voices of real youth with experts in transgender studies and allows all readers to learn more about understanding and acceptance and how to support the trans community. Our second nonfiction title is The Power of Style: How Fashion and Beauty Are Being Used to Reclaim Cultures, published by Anik Press and written by Christian Allaire. Teens have always been deeply interested in beauty and fashion, whether they were reading about it in a magazine or watching video tutorials on YouTube or TikTok. There's no doubt that what's in style impacts the choices and perceptions of young people. As a fashion-obsessed Ojibwe teen, Christian Allaire rarely saw anyone that looked like him in the magazines or movies he sought out for inspiration. Now, the fashion and style writer for Vogue, he is working to change that. This book is captivating. In The Power of Style, Allaire takes readers through boldly designed chapters to discuss topics like cosplay, makeup, hijabs, and hair, making connections between fashion and history, culture, and social justice. Teen readers are always interested in science fiction and fantasy, and I have two great series to recommend to you today. The first of which, A Girl Called Echo, recently released the fourth and final volume. This is Road Allowance Era. This series is written by Katarina Vermette and illustrated by Scott Henderson. It's published from Highwater Press. The series begins with Echo, a 13-year-old Métis girl adjusting to a new home and new school, and struggling with loneliness due to a recent separation from her mother. During the middle of a class on Métis history, Echo finds herself transported through time and place to a bison hunt on the Saskatchewan Prairie. Throughout the rest of the series, Echo continues to slip back and forth in time while visiting important moments in Métis history, such as the Pemmican Wars and the Red River Resistance. These travels to the past help Echo discover parts of her ancestry and culture, allowing her to feel more connected and confident in the present. These books are rooted in history, and at the end of each volume is a full timeline of events. With all 4 volumes now available, it is a great time to introduce them to your students. The next series I want to introduce you to is a YA fantasy from Dundurn Press. It is The Metamorphosis Duology, written by Adam Jarriott Poole. This here is the second book in the series that just released, The Boy of Feather and Steel. It is about a girl named Eli who isn't just a teenage girl, she is a made thing created by witches in order to assassinate and hunt down ghosts in the human world. Eventually she comes to question her whole past and identity and has to battle against her tyrannical witch mother. In the second book in the series, her and some friends have to return to the human world to protect the veil that separates the two. This is exactly the type of fantasy series that my students are always asking me for. I can literally hear them like, Mr. Miller, do you know any books with witches or magic or assassins? So I'm excited to share this one with them. I really love this series because of its awesome writing style, as well as it is wholly queer inclusive. Adam Jarriott Poole themselves is a non-binary writer and wanted to create a fantasy world that was inclusive of diverse genders and sexualities. I think that they've done an amazing job of creating a fantasy world that readers are going to want to visit again and again. Moving on from works of science fiction and fantasy, I have a couple works of historical fiction to share with you. The first, Names in a Jar, from Second Story Press and written by Jennifer Gold. It is a story about sisterhood and survival in Poland during the Holocaust. The story is about 2 sisters imprisoned in the Warsaw Ghetto. With no hope in sight and supplies dwindling, Anna finds herself taking care of an orphan baby. With a courage she didn't know she had, Anna and the baby leave behind all they know and go into hiding with the Catholic family, changing their names to hide their identity. Lena is not so lucky and winds up in the infamous Treblinka camp, and Lena has to survive and find her way to Anna. This story is filled with hope and courage and reconciliation. Told in shifting first-person perspective between two sisters, the book covers years of history with time passing between each chapter. A section in the back of the novel explains the real history behind the characters and some of the events of the story. And finally, more fiction than history, our last book for today is The Prairie Chicken Dance Tour from Freehand Books. It's the latest novel from award-winning writer and humorist Don Dumont. Loosely based on a true story, we start in 1970 Saskatchewan, where the Prairie Chicken Dance Troupe is all set for a 15-day trek through Europe, performing at festivals and cultural events. But when the performers all come down with the flu, John Greyeyes, a retired cowboy who hasn't danced in 15 years, finds himself abruptly thrust into the position of leading a hastily assembled group of replacement dancers. A group of expert dancers, they're not. There's a middle-aged woman with advanced arthritis, her 19-year-old niece who's more interested in flirtations than powwow, and a charming young man from the US who might not be who he says he is. John, who has never left the continent, has to guide them through a world that he knows nothing about. As the group makes its way from one stop to another, absolutely nothing goes according to plan, and the tour becomes a string of hilarious misadventures. While at these festivals, the group meets other Indigenous peoples from other parts of the globe. As these performers are constantly challenging the misconceptions of their European hosts, they show the Europeans and the readers along for the ride that there are lots of different ways to be Indigenous. The Prairie Chicken Dance Tour is absolutely hilarious and unpredictable, while challenging readers to think more complexly about Indigenous history, issues, and people. On behalf of the Association of Canadian Publishers, thank you for watching. We love hearing from you. Please check us out online for more top-grade material and content. And thank you to Ontario Creates for your continued support of the program.